And that is going to be an interesting conversation with Colette. Michael, thank you for calling in. We'll take you on in just a couple of minutes, man. Hold on. Thank you for calling in. Ranked choice voting, that is such a great subject that you want to talk about. We'll get back. We'll get to you in just a couple of minutes, Michael. And again, folks, if you want to call in, 773-763-9278 is the number to call in. You can also catch us live on Facebook, which is facebook.com/WCPT820. And at heartlandsignal.com, just go down to the Listen Live button. Click on it, and you'll get to actually at least hear us, if not see us. Okay, coming back to the topics of the day. The migrant crisis. What do you have to say about that? Tyree has been doing a lot of research on that topic, and so is Donna. Hey, Tyree, what's your take on it? What's happening in Chicago, man? What do people in Chicago have to say about migrants coming in?
Well, thanks for having me on, Mr. Faheem. So basically, the migrant issue is a big issue throughout the U.S., not just only in Chicago, but because Chicago is a big city, they're going to spread a lot into the bigger cities. A lot of residents, a lot of home residents are not happy about the migrants moving in because, they feel the government is treating them a lot better than actual, lower poor people who have been here longer than they have, who are legal here. So a lot of the residents are very upset with it. Not everyone, but many. The mayor basically is trying to help them as much. The aldermen, some of them are not as much happy with it, as I've seen on some of the news and articles.
Okay.
They are also, from what I saw a couple of days ago, they're trying to spend $30 million on tent cities and put them into lower income neighborhoods just for the migrants to have somewhere home. Basically, since they took over police stations, shelters, some of the O'Hare Airport, so they're basically everywhere, and a lot of the residents are not happy about it as per se.
Okay, folks, so you heard Tyree's report on what is actually happening in the field, not so much what the politicians are telling us about the migrants. Great. I mean, I came here as an immigrant myself 40 years back, so I know, but I came in the proper way. I did not, come in undocumented over here. The issue that is happening, folks, City of Chicago, and I was talking to a few aldermen who are not coming on today, but they have promised to come in the future. Sunday mornings, most of them are sleeping, I guess, okay? But, Dylan is shaking his head at that. Okay. Dylan is in the studio with us. He's always cheering the ship. Thank you, Dylan, for all the hard work that you do, man. But here's what I am hearing. The City of Chicago recently, as recent as last week, announced $35 million per month to be spent on services to these undocumented migrants. Okay? $35 million, folks. That's your tax money, which is not appropriated through additional taxes or anything like that. That money is coming out from services that the city should be providing to people that Tyree was talking about. Now, one of the things that I have been working on, and this is something, Ken, that we were discussing before the show, if you want to just pull up a little bit closer to your mic so we can hear you properly. Where are the migrants coming from? Why are they coming here? What value are they bringing to our country? We will talk about that in just a couple of minutes. But if I can get Michael from Chicago, you are on the air. And Michael, I know that you want to talk about ranked choice voting, man. What a great way to start the morning on Sundays. Folks, you're listening to The Lightning Strike. I'm your host, Mohammed Faheem. Michael, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, I'm in favor of ranked choice voting because it's a better, more intelligent way to vote. In traditional voting, you get one little tiny vote, one vote, even though 6 or 7 or 8 candidates might be running for that office. You can only have one vote. But with ranked choice voting, you get 5 votes in most states. Some states only give you 3 votes, but most of the states give you 5 good votes. So you have your first choice vote, second choice, third, and so on. So if your first choice vote, if that fails to get enough votes, you still have the second choice vote working for you, and the third and fourth. And maybe one of those 5 votes will come through for you. It's a better way to vote, and it will get more people voting. Right now, we don't have many people voting, especially in the midterms elections. We don't have many people coming out because people figure, well, for the mayor of Chicago, we just had a big contest for the mayor of Chicago. 9 people were running. And 9 people were running. In one little vote, your one vote wouldn't have much of an effect. But if you had 5 votes and you went through and cast 5 votes, you had a better chance to influence the election. And ranked choice.
I agree with you, Michael. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think we should be paying more attention to ranked choice voting. Unfortunately, here's the thing, though, okay? The politicians who are sitting in those, places of power, for lack of a better word over here, don't want it to happen. Okay.
Yeah, because they're the safe district. They want a safe, limited voters in a safe district.
Absolutely.
They should put it as a referendum.
Yeah, I live in Will County, and in Will County, in the last consolidated election, you know what the voter turnout was? 18.8%.
Low.
Yeah, what we are doing, Michael, we are letting the tail wag the dog in this country. A lot of the people that are complaining about things not happening, well, they don't get up in the mornings and come out to vote, man. And unless you are participating in our democracy, you have no right to protest. That is my take on this. I mean, if people who really want to come out and make a difference, they come out and vote, trust me, we can make a difference. Michael, thank you very much for your call. Do keep listening in, and you can go to our website, tlschicago.com. Send in a request for any topic that you would want to see us covered. Be sure to be in touch with us and spread the word. We are coming in. This is the third show in the morning on the third Sunday, actually, for the month. Our guest in the studio is going to be Colette Safford, who's running for Will County Circuit Judge. We will also have Pastor Herb Brooks joining us shortly on our call-in guest line at about 9:20. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this, folks.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Faheem.
Good morning, folks, and welcome back to the Lightning Strike. I'm your host, Mohammed Faheem, with you on Chicago's progressive talk radio station, WCPT AM 820. The number to call in is 773-763-9278. Continuing our conversation now about the migrant issue in Chicago and other sanctuary cities. Ken, you wanted to make a comment.
Yeah, ever since Trump came down the escalator and he started talking about those really bad people coming over the border, it's been like a zero-sum game, us against them. It's really not fair. I challenge people to put themselves in the shoes of the families that were born in a part of the world that's run by drug lords and street gangs that have really no regard for human life. Staying in those circumstances simply is not a choice. In different past years, it was, there were other groups, the Italians, for example, the Irish. Everyone's looking for a scapegoat to blame their problems on, but realistically, this is a nation built from migrants. And
okay, Ken, I want to stop you right there, man. I'm going to play Donald Trump's advocate. I don't want to use the word devil on the air over here, okay? But playing Trump's advocate over here. So what? It is their problem. It is their country. Their country is screwed up. Why do we have to take all the flotsam and jetsam of all over the world? I agree with you. Country was built on immigrants. I came here as an immigrant. But I followed the rules. I followed, the pathway to citizenship.
That's a great point. But unfortunately, the rules in this case, they've been trying to do immigration reform for the past 25 years and have gotten nowhere with them. The rules just don't make any sense, and they don't lead a pathway for it to make sense right now. I mean, there are a few times where you can get in there, but realistically...
Hey, hang on, man. Hang on again. I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ken, but you were born over here, man. You are, a typical American guy over here. You know how many people, for example, I came from India, okay? In order for me to come here legally, if my family is over here, they're filing for me. You know how long it takes to get a visa to come here?
Oh, I agree. It's
how long?
Probably takes 5 to 7 years, I believe.
No, sir. It's taking between 15 and 20 years, okay? Now, I'm talking about highly qualified people who want to come here legally, being put on the back list. And now here's someone crossing the Rio Grande and coming over here and expecting my taxpayer dollars to pay for services to
All right,
them.
now let me play devil's advocate to you. As far as the taxpayer
Donald Trump's
dollars
advocate. We don't use the word devil on
Okay, well, I'm not doing the Trump advocate. I'm doing the
Okay.
But
you
basically,
can be Vivek Ramaswamy's
now,
advocate.
when you talk about taxes, what people don't realize, and I know this from past positions I've held, where some of the undocumented workers come in and they show documents to the potential employer. And after showing it to them, it's not the employer's job to verify that. They just have to make sure that they have their act covered by looking into that. These people are paying, if they're undocumented, they're paying into Social Security to the tune of about $1.3 trillion a year that, guess what, is never getting paid back to them because it doesn't have a valid Social Security number.
So you want that money to pay for the services for these people?
Well, it does. I mean, it's
but
money that's going into the governmental coffers. So,
Ken,
I mean, that's
Ken,
money
that's not how it works, though, because that money is going into the federal government coffers. It's not coming down to cities like Chicago, to where the city of Chicago now has to pay $35 million every month for services to the undocumented aliens over here. So that argument is not going to fly with me over here.
Well, actually, there's a trickle-down effect for the federal to the local governments. They do have different monies that are available.
If it happens, right? Now, one of the things that I was noticing also in this debate, don't get me wrong, I'm all in favor of immigrants coming in, folks, okay? Don't get me wrong. But the thing is, when these people come in and we provide services to them, here's where the rub is happening. How long can you house and feed someone? How long? My thing is this. You know that I was in workforce and economic development for a long time, right? I was with Illinois WorkNet. I was one of the directors with the Arlington Heights office. You know, there are millions of dollars of workforce development funds available for workforce training and skills upgrade training. Why don't we take some of that money and use it for these immigrants, quote unquote, to train them in skills that are useful for our economy?
That's a great idea. I agree 1,000% with that.
Yeah, so instead of, giving them a fish, let's teach them how to fish. I think we will continue the conversation, folks. It's going to be an ongoing conversation on WCPT airwaves for a long time to come. Meanwhile, we have our guest calling in. Our guest is Pastor Herb Brooks from Joliet. And to introduce Pastor Brooks is our intern, Donahue, in the studios today. Donahue, go ahead. Take it with Pastor Brooks.
All right. So Herbert Brooks Jr., some of his proudest and personal achievements recently include he is the board of director for Stepping Stone in Joliet, Illinois, and board director of the Senior Service Center of Will County. He is a pastor of St. John Church since 1990, a graduate of LaSalle University here in Chicago. He has been part of the Silver Cross Hospital Community Commission Board, also part of the Joliet branch and AACP Children's Advocacy Center Board, and lastly serves as CACUS Chairman IEEI Board Chicago body.
Thank you, Donahue. Good morning, Pastor Brooks. Thank you for joining us on the Lightning Strike.
Thank you.
Well, quick question, sir. Sunday morning, you're supposed to be setting up for church. What are you doing with us on the air today?
Because, good question. That one threw me off, Mohammed. Because what I learned what you were doing, I listened through via one of my friends here in the Plainfield, Joliet area, Mark Ferry. He told me about you. I've listened in, and I've heard a lot of good causes. And even though my service here don't start for another hour, it gives me plenty of time to share some good news and listen to what you guys are doing there in Chicago.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that you are so busy with everything that you're doing in the community. So, Herb, let me ask you this. What are some of the challenges that you are seeing in the neighborhood that you feel that we need to pay attention to, and how can we do it?
A couple of things that you in Chicago and WCPT radio here in Joliet area, two of our major problems here is we are probably the largest intermodal for truck companies in all of America in Joliet and Will counties. And we have a lot of truck companies coming to neighborhoods, and neighborhoods are saying no more trucks on our roads until there's some infrastructure. So that's one of them. But the second one is, Mohammed, there's a lot of rock quarries and blasting that are setting up in unincorporated Joliet. But unfortunately, they're right near neighborhoods, and they're blasting their homes, etc. So that's just a couple of the things that the community here is very upset about.
Okay. And another thing that I really wanted to get your take on is the family structure of your flock now. How is that, and what is being done by the church to address the family structure issue in Joliet?
First thing I did, Mohammed, I was a church during a pandemic. I never shut down. I never closed the doors. But I got to preface that with this. I never had people come in either. People say, well, the church was shut down. They were, but I never shut my doors. I always stayed here. People came in for prayers. They needed help, and there was one church all over Joliet they can depend on. That was me. Mohammed, another thing I can tell you, a lot of churches would not allow funerals to take place at all during the pandemic, where I was averaging 3 to 7 funerals per week because I tried to help families, and some with no money at all. I don't take a salary from the church. I don't take money from families, but I turned around and wanted to help them when other churches wouldn't. So how I addressed it is I kept in touch with them in the time of need. Everybody can give out gas cards. I need a gas card. But everybody can't help people during time of bereavement, and that's what I felt my specialty was, my calling.
You know, that is so wonderful. That's so wonderful to hear someone who is in the service of the people and service of God, to hear a comment like that. I don't take a salary. I'm here to serve people. What a refreshing thought on Sunday mornings. I hear so many stories about these mega rich churches and mega rich pastors, you know, who are basically selling the word of God, for lack of a better word. I'll tell you a funny story, Pastor Brooks. I've done multiple things in my life, including running a construction company also, okay?
Okay.
And we used to sell windows, siding, and roofing and all those great things, And I was invited to a church to make a presentation about energy-efficient windows. So I show up to this church, and it is in a very poor neighborhood, and the pastor invites me in to make a presentation to the board of the church, and I get up on a table, and I'm making my presentation, showing my windows, and blah, blah, blah. By the way, the pastor is dressed in the finest possible suit that you can think of, and he's driving a brand new Cadillac. And then he invites me, to the services, to stay for the service. And I said, I'll be happy to stay, Pastor. So I'm looking in the service, and people are going nuts in the church. Okay, it was one of those churches where it says, "Do I have a witness?" And so
okay.
You know what I mean now, right?
Oh yeah, been there.
Okay, and so people speaking in tongues and doing all kinds of things. And afterwards, the pastor gets together with me and says, "Hey, I'll get you the contract for the church, for the windows, but could you also put windows on my home for me? Okay.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
we have a lot of those people out in the community who are trying to, do things for themselves rather than for the community. It is such a pleasure to talk with you this morning. You are always welcome on the airways over here. Folks, our guest calling in is Pastor Herb Brooks from Joliet. And Pastor Brooks, you want to talk a little bit about your church and again, how do people get in touch with you if they need some services in the Joliet area?
Well, first of all, Mohammed, thank you so much. I remind everybody, I'll be 70 years old next year, and I'm from old school. I'm not into technology. I don't use a cell phone like a lot of people. I'm in my church office 7 days a week, and good old-fashioned landline get me quicker than any other way. 815-726-7080. That's the St. John Church of Joliet. And we're in an unincorporated Joliet called Preston Heights in Joliet Township. And I'm just a humble servant. Right now, Muhammad, I got on the polo shirt, and I just got that off layaway. So I don't raise a lot of money. I don't do pastor's anniversaries. I don't do birthday anniversaries. My goal is to serve the people here in the Joliet area.
And you don't want me to put windows on your home, right?
I would, but I'd rather get a job and pay for them. God's been good to me. Thank you for the offer, though.
Okay. Folks, Pastor Brooks, thank you so much for calling in. And with that, folks, let's go back to the phone lines. We have got Roosevelt on the line over here. Roosevelt, good morning. Welcome to WCPT. You're listening to the Lightning Strike. You have a comment on the immigrants and refugees issues. Go ahead, please.
First of all, Mohammed, thank you very much for taking my call. And
okay,
you got a great show.
Oh, wonderful! Thank you.
A lot of the times that the shows take up this topic, they don't mention things that happened in the past, that happened in the recent past, and in the present, and that is it.
Okay.
You say what you mentioned at the beginning, at the top of your show. Why are these people coming over here? Now these people are coming over here. Is because the United States in the 80s, to be specific, Reagan interfered in those Central American countries. This is a product of us as a country not taking responsibility for sticking our nose in somebody else's countries, such as Central America and South America, and we supported dictators as long as it benefits the United States. The United States has never taken responsibility for that.
Roosevelt, you are so right. Thank you for bringing that up. See, here's the thing that I was looking at when I was doing my research on the topic. Most of the migrants that are coming in are young people, okay? Now, why would someone in a Southern American country want their best people to actually migrate or go north? Here's what is happening. Most of the dictators over there, they want to hold on to the power, and the only people that are going to challenge their power are the young people who are being disenfranchised over there. They don't have job opportunities. They're not making money. They don't have, a good lifestyle. So the dictators are like, okay, yeah, folks, go north. Leave us to our own, power over here. That is one of the reasons. And the other reason that came up in my study was these migrants who are coming over here are actually sending back $65 billion, according to some studies, every year in foreign exchange back to their home countries. And most of these countries actually are not exporting any products other than these people over here to raise that kind of foreign exchange. That is at the heart of this, of what is happening over here. And Roosevelt, thank you so much for joining us. We are going to take a quick break. Please spread the word. Do listen in to the Lightning Strike Sunday mornings, folks. It's your show. Feel free to call in 773-763-9278.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Faheem.
Good morning, folks, and thank you for listening in. I am Mohammed Faheem, and with me in the studios is Ken DeLuc. Joining us shortly will be our guest, Colette Safford, who is currently a commissioner with the Plainfield Park District. And Colette is actually running for Will County judge now for the Circuit Court of Will County. Colette, come on in. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us in the studios at WCPT. And grab a seat. Let's have a conversation. And we will take a quick phone call while you're getting settled. Edward, thank you for calling in. And I believe that you have some comments on immigrants before we go on to Colette over here. Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We had the disasters, the flooding in Libya and the earthquake in Morocco. And I think these people should kind of jump in front of the line from the immigrants coming from Latin America, because these people were involved in natural disasters. They don't have a place to live, no food, whatever. They have no living. And I think somebody like the U.S. and Germany, which is the big brother over there in Europe, we should be able to be taking these people ahead of everybody else because of these natural disasters.
Oh,
not that
God.
Latin America is not important, but I think these people are in more dire situation than the people coming in from Latin America, in my opinion.
I am so glad you brought it up, Edwards. Folks, the flooding in Libya, my God, over 20,000 people dead so far, and, thousands more unaccounted for. Morocco? Oh, yeah. Just think about it, folks. There are countries which are going through natural disasters. And Edwards, thank you so much for pointing that out. And joining us in the studio now, Colette Safford. Colette, thank you so much for joining us. And welcome to WCPT and the Lightning Strike.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Good morning. Good morning. So tell us a little bit about who Colette Safford is and why do you want to run for a judge? What qualifies you to run for a judge?
Yes. So currently I serve as the legal counsel for our Will County Executive, as well as legal counsel for the Executive's Office. I also serve as the Deputy Liquor Commissioner for unincorporated Will County. I heard you speak a little bit about my service to the great folks in Plainfield through the Plainfield Park District. And most importantly, I am a local attorney in Joliet. I have been servicing families in foster care, dealing with commercial issues, contract issues, boots on the ground to make sure that families stay together. This is a great opportunity for me to serve on the Circuit Court of Will County if I am elected by our voters, because circuit judges, they play a very important role. Not only do they participate in the selection process of associate judges, but they also have some administrative tasks that the general public may not be aware of or just may not follow because they're busy following your court case in the courts, meaning the selection of the public defender, administrative orders, the probation department, and the like. And additionally, I think this is a great chance to bring a judge to the bench with a diverse background.
Okay.
Naturally, when you think of judges, you may think of the career prosecutor or the career public defender. They all do great, important work, and I honor and salute them. But we also have other areas of the law in which my background in civil will bring a great, unique perspective to Will County. And finally, one of the things that's not talked about a lot is the tone. The judge in the courtroom sets the tone for that courtroom. And so you have to have those interpersonal skills, which I have, to be able to interact with the public every day, your court staff, and also the attorneys. Because if the attorneys don't work well, that's a trickle down effect to the client itself, and that contributes to the attitude or the disregard or the feelings towards the court system as a whole. So that's a little bit about me. I certainly believe I have the credentials. I have a varied law background experience that will be able to help and serve the residents of Will County.
So, folks, you heard Colette Safford, and she is running for circuit judge in Will County. One of the things that I have noticed, and I don't know whether it's by design or accident, on a ballot paper, the names of the judges are listed at the very end. Nobody really does any research. Judges are not sending out, thousands of flyers and putting up yard signs and all of these other legislative positions. They are blasting us with, who they are, whereas I think it should be the other way around. I mean, judges are our first defense against anything that is happening which is against the Constitution and the law. Right? Mm-hmm. So I think judges should be at the top of the ballot paper. What do you think?
Well, if I had it my way, but our ballot order is already set, by regulation, by statute. So that's
let's go ahead and change that. Let's go ahead and change that. Terry, do you mind taking a picture of Colette in the studio with us, man?
Yes, thank you.
She's looking so good over here. And folks, you're listening to the Lightning Strike with us in the studio today is Colette Safford, who's running for judge for Circuit Court in Will County. And the number to call in is 773-763-9278 if you have any questions for Colette over here. Ken, I believe that you have a question for Colette.
Considering your position currently with the Will County Board.
Executive's office.
Yeah, the executive office. Last week we brought up a concept of maybe putting, in response to what Mohammed was just saying, we came up with an idea of maybe putting a QR code into the before people go in to vote, to where after just seeing a bunch of names who they probably don't know who these judges are, maybe it can come up with a little bio and what positions and what credentials stands for them, so when they actually go ahead and do vote for somebody, they have a better way of figuring out who best represents their interest. Do you see something like that might be a possibility?
What I see is that the voters today, certainly we have a lot more engaged voters. With social media, I believe that people today want to know who they're voting for. And so I'm really proud that voters are really starting to become more engaged in researching the candidates to do so. In terms of me, I agree that, voters should know. And so that's why one of the reasons that I'm here today and I'm crisscrossing the county is being able to meet as many people as I can, because I believe it is my responsibility to tell the voters as to why I should be their selection. They shouldn't necessarily have to dig through that information. Certainly, I do believe in transparency. I put all of my things on my website, and I believe that today voters are very sophisticated. They want to do their research, and they want to dig into backgrounds to know who they're selecting.
So, Colette, speaking of website now, what is your website?
So my website is ColetteSaffordforJudge.com, and Colette is spelled Colette, and Safford is Safford.
Okay, so ColetteSafford.com, folks. Remember that.
ColetteSaffordforJudge.com.
ColetteSaffordforJudge.com. Man, that's a long URL over there. What we will do is we will also put Colette's information on our website, which is tlschicago.com for the Lightning Strike. You could go and look in the guests tab, and you'll see Colette's picture. You'll see a copy of the video of her appearance over here, and also her bio and a link to her website to make things easy for you folks. You're listening to the Lightning Strike. The number is 773-763-9278. I'm your host, Mohammed Faheem, with you every Sunday morning on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk radio station, 8:20 a.m. And also it is on Facebook, facebook.com/WCPT820, and heartlandsignal.com for live shows that you can listen to on the radio anywhere in the world, folks. So, Colette, coming back now, yes. You're being heard across the country. What would you want to say to our good friend? I'm not going to go there. Okay. One thing that we were discussing before we got on the air is I was talking about a good friend of my daughter's. Her dad was recently killed in a motor vehicle accident. Someone ran into him, and he died on the spot. Very productive, person. The person who caused the accident has been in different encounters with the police for at least 3 to 4 times in the past, driving with a suspended license, driving without insurance, driving with open alcohol. Every time the police were letting him go. What kind of law do we have in our country? And you trying to run for a judge, what would you do in a situation like that? Would you let this person go multiple times till he causes the death of somebody?
Well, first off, I'd like to offer my condolences to the family who's lost a loved one. I can understand and empathize with that loss. And out of respect for the family, I don't want to, I'm not going to talk specifically about their case because it's certainly
in general, if you have somebody who has committed multiple infractions of the law and then he ends up actually killing somebody, man, why wasn't he stopped in the beginning when he was running all of these, afoul of the law for all of these things?
And I can understand that frustration, but generally for, and this is not speaking to this specific incident as it will likely make its way through the court system, but generally for minor traffic infractions in terms of maybe not having a license, you're generally not jailed for that type of offense. So certainly I can understand that frustration because the family may believe if this person wasn't driving that this wouldn't have happened. But it's no guarantee that even having a license that this unfortunate accident would not have occurred.
Right.
So with the Safety Act, although this type of offense is that judges have discretion in terms of being able, if a person was detainable. But again, there are certain classes of offenses, and this class may not have prevented that unfortunate situation.
That's a perfect pivot to the Safety Act. Folks, the no cash bail part of Safety Act is going into effect from tomorrow. We'll take a quick break, and we'll come back after the break and talk with Colette Safford, who's running for Will County Circuit Judge on that. We are listening to The Lightning Strike. I'm your host, Mohammed Faheem.
Welcome back to The Lightning Strike with Mohammed Faheem.
Welcome back, folks. Sunday, rainy Sunday morning out here in Chicago. I'm your host, Mohammed Faheem, with The Lightning Strike. With me in the studio today is Colette Safford, who's running for Will County Circuit Judge. So, Colette, we were discussing about the Safety Act and the no cash bail. You want to talk a little bit about some other law issues that you think that we should know about?
Sure. I think, as we just mentioned about the Safety Act, it's been a buzz because tomorrow it will be implemented across the state of Illinois. And so one of the things that people have been saying is that they believe that means that violent criminals will be able to run free at the stroke of midnight, and that's just not true. One of the great things about the Safety Act, it puts the discretion right there at the bench with the judges to be able to make a decision as to whether or not a particular person charged with offense poses a risk to themselves or to victims or society as a whole.
Okay. So basically the judges have the discretion now to make that decision. Let's say you make that decision and this guy ends up killing somebody down the road. How would you feel?
Well, one of the things...
I'm putting you in a tough spot over here, okay? Okay.
Muhammad drives a hard bargain. So I don't want to talk about how I will rule on a particular case, but as you know that people today, even before the law was implemented, that are out on bail, that is no guarantee that unfortunate things may not happen. However, we won't be able to have a crystal ball to know that at any particular time that unfortunate things won't happen in the future. But one of the things as a judge, which I'm really grateful for that's in this act, is that the judge would be able to have that discretion to do so. Because prior to this, certain offenses, a judge would be, in a sense, obligated to set a monetary bail. So with this, the judge can have that onus to be able to decide that a person should not be detained.
Right, and especially a lot of people who are not financially well off, the poor people in society who could not come up with that bail, were being unjustly jailed because they just did not have the money to put it up, even though they were good people, right?
Yes, that's absolutely true. And although this doesn't fall directly under the Safety Act, I'll just give you a prime example. So I have done a lot of litigation in foster care where routinely the parents are poor. And you have situations where even those parents, where we're talking about their minor kids, are subject who don't have the resources to come to court just for those types of proceedings. So I agree that we should not be keeping people in jail simply because they can't afford. Now, I'm not talking about the people that are doing violent things, because we all have the right to be free of violence in our person, in our homes, our kids to be able to play safely on the street. So with the Safety Act, I'm really proud that the judges would have that discretion. And that's one of the reasons that I am running for circuit judges, because I do believe in safe neighborhoods. I believe that if our neighborhoods are safe, then our communities are stronger. We're more tolerant of each other. And so our businesses thrive. And so this is a great opportunity for me to be able to sit in that courtroom and be able to examine the cases and facts that come before me and be able to make that very important decision.
Thank you so much for running for public office. Folks, it's not easy to run for public office. I know. I mean, I tried to run, 2 times for public office, and every time it is a challenge. It is a challenge, going out, getting those petition signatures, and then raising money to run for that. And we have a caller on the air. We'll take the call in just a couple of seconds before we let Colette go over here. Again, you're listening to The Lightning Strike. I'm your host, Mohammed Faheem. The website for the show is TLS for The Lightning Strike, Chicago.com. And let's take the caller from 281 on the line first, Dylan. And if we could just have a quick call in for Colette. And go ahead, please. Zoya's got a comment on immigration, actually. Go ahead, you're on the air.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. So you
and
have
I'm calling from Texas.
Oh, boy.
So tell me about the immigration crisis here.
Okay. Well, your governor from there is sending all the people back here to Chicago. So
I know,
your governor
and New York and Denver and California, and I am not a Greg Abbott fan. But to quote one of our Republicans, I am not.
Okay.
But,
and what was happening? Hang on one second. What was happening with Ken Paxton over there, man?
Oh, my God. Don't get me started on that.
What a waste of taxpayer money. Colette, 2 weeks, these Republicans are fighting with each other, dog eating dog, and then it comes out, no. Nothing. All 16 counts. He's
facing federal charges, so still.
Okay.
But that was more interesting than any. I watched it live. The Paxton trial. It was more interesting than any other series I've watched lately, fictional. Anyway, so I know you don't have much time to get back to the immigration, long-broken immigration system, which is a full-blown crisis now, as you've been saying. Michael Bloomberg actually wrote an op-ed in New York Times last week.
Okay.
It was really interesting. And did you know that, for starters, the current federal law, whether it's New York or Texas or Chicago, the current federal law prevents asylum seekers who have already been admitted from immediately working. And the process of receiving a work authorization can take a year or longer. So go figure. So if once you've been admitted into the U.S. and you're seeking asylum, just to get work authorization, I know you were talking about training them for work. Maybe they're already trained. And especially talking about New York City, they have a legal settlement, and I'm sure Chicago has something similar. The city, but according to the city law, they have to provide shelter to all homeless residents seeking it.
Right.
And you know, in New York City, I'm not up on top of Chicago numbers. More than 100,000 asylum seekers since spring of last year, they've been housed. And you know what? According to the mayor's office, the cost to taxpayers, and they're housed everywhere in hotels and you name it. It's almost $400 a night.
Per person?
A night. Per family, per room, per accommodation, whatever. I don't know if they're all hotels and that's running into billions and billions of dollars. So
boy,
I don't know. There are no quick fixes.
There are no quick fixes. I agree with you, but it needs to be addressed at the legislative level and then at the courts.
And see, the system has to be compassionate, fair, just, practical, rational, humane. So that's a tall order.
Thank you for calling in. We'll continue the conversation next week. And with that, we have our Person of the Week segment coming up. Sheila White is calling in. She is our segment producer for the Person of the Week. Sheila, you are going to be on the air with me, I guess, today. And I believe our Person of the Week was Maurice Bly, and I don't have Maurice calling in. What's up?
Okay, we're going to find out why Maurice is not calling in. It's a great subject today, Maurice, Mohammed, today. But Maurice Bly, she's the CEO and founder of Humbly Designed, LLC. She has 35 years of experience in unparalleled professional management, an impressive history of visionary leadership and strategic problem solving. She needs to be right in Washington, right?
Okay, but he needs to get up on Sunday mornings and call in. We've got like about 5 minutes left for the show to end, and I don't see his call in over here. Sheila, what's up?
I'm going to find out why she's not calling in. She should be calling in any moment now. I'm looking for her.
Okay. And if she does not, what we'll do is we'll feature her on our website so that people can get to know about what a great person Maurice is. And we'll wait for you to connect with Maurice. I've got Colette Safford in the studio with me today. Colette is running for Will County Circuit Judge. Colette, thank you very much for joining us. I would like you to stay till we end the show in about 5 minutes so that we can continue to our discussion today.
Absolutely.
You'll get a little bit more time. We're going to go ahead and charge you more money for this, okay?
Okay.
Maurice is actually on the line now, Mohammed.
I see that. So, Dylan, if you could please bring Maurice on. Maurice, thank you so much for joining us. We've got 5 minutes left to go, girl. What have you been doing Sunday morning?
Well, good morning. I've just been ready for worship and just excited to talk to you.
Okay. See, that's part of giving back to God is making sure that people get to hear about some great things that you're doing for His creation out here. Sheila, go ahead and take it with Maurice, please.
Okay, Maurice Bly is the CEO and founder of Humbly Designed, which is an LLC. She has over 35 years of experience in unparalleled professional management and impressive history of visionary leadership and strategic problem solving. She is an innovative and versatile strategist, formulating marketing plans that improve and drive daily operations. She was born and raised in Gary, Indiana, and she has a master's degree in management from Indiana Wesleyan University. But her passion is people. Her goal is to provide other businesses with sound expertise and organizational operations management. And she develops strategic solutions to meet the needs of their businesses. Welcome, Maurice, to the show. Good morning. Thank you.
Hey, Maurice, welcome to the show. I think you and I need to have a discussion, young lady, because I do have the Center for Strategic Solutions also, and we focus on workforce development and workforce strategies for employers. Sheila, we got 3 minutes with you and Maurice. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Maurice. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing in the organization of Gary, Indiana.
Right now, I am just helping. I have 9 clients right now, and I am just really helping them to strive and gain success in their organizations, provide daily operational solutions, organizational management, any consulting needs they may have. I will get with them with that. Marketing. I've helped with time management skills. I do leadership coaching, customer service training, just a plethora of things that drive the business, some of the foundation of business to help in this forever changing world we have. So continuing on with the daily functions of business, but actually looking at the heart of the foundation or businesses to help them gain success.
Wonderful. Maurice, how do people get in touch with you?
You can find me on Facebook, Humbly Designed LLC, or you can contact me directly at 219-765-1854.
Okay, folks, and we'll have information about Maurice on the tlschicago.com, the Lightning Strike Chicago website. So feel free to reach out, connect with her, get to see what you can do to make a difference in your community also. And if you have some topics that you would like us to address, you are very welcome to go to our website, tlschicago.com. It is coming up almost to the end of the witching hour for us. I am your host, Mohammed Faheem. With me in the studios today, Ken DeLuke, Colette Safford, Donna He Sanchez, and Tyree Pipkins, our two interns, helping to make the show a success. And, of course, Dylan running the votes for us on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk radio station, 8:20 a.m. You can catch us on Facebook Live. Not catch us, you can catch us on Facebook Live every Sunday morning, also at facebook.com/WCPT820 and heartlandsignal.com. With that, we come to the end of the show today. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Mohammed Faheem signing off on the Lightning Strike. Have a nice week.